Greetings, welcome to the Black Pill. This is a bit that I wrote for the New Existentialists years ago now, called One Day of Liberty. Here we go. I laughed my way through basic training. It was a hoot. Watching small people try to intimidate us with their small presences, with canned insults and one liners, and stories so old they could only be apocryphal. A time of hilarity despite all the stress. Particularly amusing was a talk given by a training instructor about acne, which he thought was the correct term for the skin blemishes associated with adolescence, even spelled it for us. I wasn't mishearing him. He spelled it out like the company that Coyote gets his anvils from, he said. Oh, another, man, it was 1990. I'm wandering off script. It was 1993 in January, and there's an intercom system went to the major's office downstairs, and they told this story about someone stopping in front of the intercom box and going, "Beam me up, Scotty," and then the voice coming back, "Why don't you beam your ass down here and bring me a 341 Air Force Basic Training lingo for a demerit?" And and then even in the 90s, Star Trek was going on 25 years old. Anyway, it is so easy to intimidate the average person into conformity that even this high school washout could master the movements. Given the setting and the institutional support, it's hard to imagine someone who could not have managed it. I was a clear exception. Nobody else was much laughing. They generally seemed to take the abuse all too seriously. A bunkmate, for example, fell from a top bunk and broke his arm in an attempt to get sent home from basic. He got sent to the psych hospital instead, probably discharged from there eventually. Some people found faith, some tried to run. Most found enough metal and came through relatively unscathed. I pretty much just laughed at everything, and carried on. That isn't what I want to write about today. I want to tell you about One Day of Liberty. This is a free day that you get toward the end of basic training. Until this day, you've been locked into the barracks, locked into a formation, locked into a dining hall, locked into position and discipline and subservience and appearance and protocol. On this day, one day, some weeks into your incarceration, you get to put on your blues for the first time and go out into the civilian world for just a few hours. You're free for the day to pursue real life. It feels strange, like entering adulthood again. Some people break the rules set up around this liberty: drinking, smoking, sex. Some people find the freedom they have to be enough. My squadron went straight to Hooters. What other behavior do you expect from young men being trained to conformity and social order? And then to the movies: Bram Stoker's Dracula, yeah, Winona Ryder, and so on. Who's the guy? People like him now. Keanu. We carefully observed the boundaries of our liberty, stayed in line, came back to our temporary prison on time to be locked in for the night. Liberty ended. For the next 4 years, even if we were in the larger world, we were not really at liberty. Our movements were watched, if not very closely, even on leave. Visits to foreign countries could be scrutinized, our urine could be sampled, our quarters no less a prison for having no locks on the doors, as they could be searched at any time without suspicion. If we took loans, they were guaranteed by the government, making us huge targets for local businesses. That is, if you take a loan and you don't pay it, the loaner um, calls your first sergeant, and the first sergeant has your day pay dogged. The government doesn't pay back your loans, but yeah, it's guaranteed by your unit that you're going to pay those loans back. Um, that one day of liberty trained us more than anything else to experience freedom as relative within the accepted boundaries we signed ourselves into. We gave up certain rights others consider fundamental, and we did it at least aware that freedom was a larger goal: freedom for civilians. We were happy to do it, didn't understand even what it meant most of the time. But for the 4 years I served, all the years braver and better people have served, they sacrificed many essential freedoms on behalf of other people. I've been out for longer than I really super much care to think about. How long ago was 1996? Anyway, now I see that we are still only relatively free, even those who never served in the armed forces. Your day of liberty occurs within boundaries too. You can only take what you can pay for. You have to be considerate of others. You have to die one day. And the people on the outside have mastered the language and behavior of inducing conformity just as well as that ragged old technical sergeant who didn't know how to say acne. You are intimidated and coerced every day into thinking you need a luxury car, fat laden food, coal and oil power, the latest phone or tablet. The sad truth of the matter, though, is that you did not sign up for it. It's being done to you. Your silence is assent, but you never consented, even when you paid extra for the name brand identical to the generic. I willingly signed away my rights. Consent requires information, and I was 19. Never mind that now. You never did. You never put your name on the line. Imagine you had one day of liberty and at the end of the day did not have to take the bus back to your barracks to be locked in once more. What would you do with that day?